Before looking into a completely new product or company, I usually tend to avoid other people's reviews. I find that many may tend to review in an overly positive manner, failing to test completely or to be very quick to gloss over some faults. I was sent a wheelbase for review, and to test it better, I went out of my way and bought more wheels, more hubs, and more accessories. When testing, I will always give credit where credit is due, and I will give objective critical feedback where and when it's due. I suppose what I'm trying to say here is if a product fails to deliver, the faults are always brought to light, even if the company may decide to never contact me or work with me again. Cammus makes a very, very great product and sells it at a remarkably low price. It's not without some minor issues that you should know about, so we begin. Hello YouTubers, this is noobifier. Most of my experience has been with mid, high-end simulation gear, but now we have a great opportunity to explore into mid and mid-entry price points. Mid to high is direct bases that are around $1,000 to $2,000 range. I have used the version 2.5 Fanatec belt drive and recently begun working on reviewing the Logitech G923. These are in that $500 price range. Cammus contacted me before the new year and proposed that I should test their 15 Nm base. Not knowing anything about them or their products, I did a quick search on the web and I was a bit confused because they seem to offer a 15 Nm direct drive wheelbase for anywhere between $400 and $600. A very simple looking product, a simple website, and the first thing that comes to mind is, what's the catch? It seems too good to be true. For the majority of the situations and game titles, it's actually a great value offering very high performance. Cammus is definitely an option to consider if you're in the market. Cammus as a company has only been working in the sim market for a short period of time. Their ecosystem's become more ambitious lately, exploding onto the market. They currently list 2 direct drive wheelbases, a selection of wheels, pedals, a sim platform, and even the beginnings of some motion systems have been announced. My biggest fear with a new player went beyond the obvious concerns for inconsistent quality and quality control and directly towards software. If the software driving the wheelbase is immature, it might lack feeling, features, or width. With immature software, you might only get basic wheel feedback with basic physics, but lack that varied road texture. You may not get a clear feeling at the edge of where your tires are losing grip. You may not get or feel proper road surface changes in a rally stage that might change from dirt to pavement. This sort of immaturity will improve with time with patches, but in all of my testing, I haven't found a situation where I felt that the simulation experience was lacking in any way. With bare minimum tuning, I was able to get a great feeling drive, and I doubt in a blind test against any DD1 or anything like that you would be able to tell the difference. This is a huge compliment because I tend to run at the upper band of wheel strength, what Kyle likes to call kill or workout mode. The plug-and-play experience, however, was a little bit hit and miss. The issue was isolated to a game title who is well known for being difficult. Cammus fell short and I was left disappointed, and I'm going to speak a little bit later in the video. Shipped to my door, we're off to a great start. Everything ships protected in flexible foam with a shiny cardboard display box. That box is shipped within a standard box and neither box arrived undamaged, but that means that they did exactly what they were meant to do, as my products all arrived in perfect working condition. We can take a look from back to front as a physical tour of what you get. The wheelbase is heavy at 11 kilos or 24 pounds for my US friends. The case is aluminum extrusion and really solid. You have a type A to B connection, which is what you would normally plug in a printer with. Most things now simply adopt USB-C. It's actually not that uncommon in the market, and the benefit here is that you can easily and cheaply pick up a replacement if the wire becomes damaged or if you want a specific length. There are 8 RJ45 style connectors in 2 banks for expansion, power connector, a cooling fan, and groove channels on the left and right. The power brick seems to be the exact part that is used on the Fanatec DD1, which is a nice little bit of foreshadowing to its potential torque. The underside has a set of M5 mounting holes which didn't line up with anything pre-existing that I had drilled out already. For the extra $8, I did order their adapter kit, a simple set of screws and a metal plate that fixes the issue without any drilling. A great time-saving feature and a solid win for Cammus. The front is where we really start to see where the approach differs from standard. You have no OLED screen, which makes sense based on its price. You have a bunch of dials, toggles, and buttons directly on the base face, which is unusual as those are normally on the wheel. I originally thought that I would never use these, but as we tested different types of driving, I can honestly tell you, more buttons are good. The buttons here on the base prove to be a huge advantage. You have 5 colored buttons that light up when pressed. There's a single power button which glows very bright green when the unit's on. It can be a little bit distracting. There's one up and down momentary and one up and down toggle. there are 2 rotary encoders that have a nice push and feedback as you rotate them. These are not set as axes, they are encoders that operate as a momentary button click binding. So, at this point, a simple design and simple looks, and I don't find anything specifically ugly about the base, and it matches perfectly with the budget price point. The motor extension has a permanently attached mounting plate with a total of 12 bolt holes, allowing for 2 different sizes of 6 bolt pattern wheels. You can attach all the parts for a basic hub, but unlike others, you can just bolt the wheel directly here, and it's just going to work. This is possible because there are no attempts to support console, so no licenses in the wheel or the wheelbase. As a PC gamer, I found this to be quite a relief, and you may ask why this is important. Well, if, for example, you only wanted to use one wheel and never remove it, you can bolt it directly to the wheelbase. You will eliminate any flex the quick change hub may introduce. If you have a real race car and are using simulation to train in the off-season, you can drift and drive with the actual wheel from your car with no additional drama. This will also eliminate the hub, pushing the wheel a further 10 centimeters back if you have clearance issues. Mounting like this also means that no buttons or paddles can get in the way and potentially twist a finger clean off. Train like you race, train like you rally, train like you drift. Now you see why having all of those extra buttons makes more sense. Yes, many just use a button box, but you don't have to. Reset VR, change views, reset to track, reset to pit, recover your car, play pause. All of this can still be on your wheel if it has buttons, but none of it needs to be on the wheel. These buttons are mostly replicated on their wheels with the same buttons, toggles, and encoders. They are not a mirror of the ones on the base, they are a complete second set, resulting in over 37 possible bindings. To round out all of my driving styles, I have a big fat 350mm bare drifting wheel from Tokyo Tom on a hub, the GTS style wheel and its button hub, and a tiny R300 flat bottom D wheel on another style of button hub. The quick change hub seems quite familiar as I've seen it on other products. This design is much less prone to damage than Fanatec because the pins are spring-loaded and designed to make contact electrically in the middle of the hub. The shifters are magnetic. You can change the strength by adding or removing magnets. These are not as clicky as others. They were very easy to get used to, and you do need to be somewhat careful to not accidentally shift because the shift point is very near the start of the shifter travel. Cammus currently lists the GTS and GT1 style wheels, and they're being sold for $200 US directly from the supplier. I do have a code that drops that by a further 5%. That's in the description. My total investment in 3 wheel types cost just around $600. The wheels are metal and either a grippy rubber or wrapped in leather. The wheel includes shifter paddles and a button module. The wheel included a complete hub, both parts, not just the quick release part. I have all of the extra parts set aside as spares. If one of them somehow wears out over the years, I can just swap it out for a brand new one. It does what it needs to do, and they keep the price down for you. It's up to you to decide if you need more, and then I guess you're out looking for another ecosystem. Everyone who normally comes to visit has always had a chance to test out the new gear that I'm working on. Those who came over recently were very impressed and then shocked when I told them the price. So many were so impressed that they're actually changing over to Cammus. So that's all very positive. What we have left to talk about is the software, more on how it performs, and those things that it does not do so well, and then some final thoughts. For the software, it's easy to download and install. It includes the basic drivers and will help you install firmware. Like others, you have profile slots so you can quickly change between your game titles without any drama. You are unable to make any setting changes directly on the wheel. However, they have created a mobile app that links everything together. You can choose to Alt-Tab out, make the changes on the desktop, and then Alt-Tab back in. But especially when you're performing your initial tuning, the app speeds up the process and is a great quality of life feature. During testing, I was able to change settings while Kyle was drifting based on his feedback. We would go down every option and adjust it until the feedback was perfect. The app is a huge time saver and another example of saving money without taking features away. The software automatically sees more Cammus devices as they're added, which means if you remain in their ecosystem with pedals and extras, everything is in one place, in one piece of software. I had a really big beef, and it might simply come down to something being lost in translation. When I read Forza 5 support on a company website, I expected that this would mean that it works with the game title. I was left disappointed, and Cammus said that they're still working on a more final solution. Forza 5 recently went on sale, and I wanted to test a very casual driving title with my friends, so I decided to buy it. This was the first game that didn't just work with Cammus, and I immediately tested that on Fanatec and Logitech. Both of those worked out of the box and they were actually plug and play. So I reached out to Cammus about this issue. They replied very quickly with a link and instructions, and I suppose that can be seen as support, but using the word workaround might have been a little bit more truthful. Again, lost in translation. They sent a multi-page document with a set of instructions. To get this to work, I would need to install VJoy, which is a third-party virtual controller emulator. I installed the most up-to-date version of VJoy, which worked fine. For about 10 minutes, I configured the wheel and all of the 37 or so buttons to be seen in VJoy as instructed. Then in the background, I would need to run another emulator bridge program so that Forza 5 would see VJoy. I then got a warning that the configuration DLL file from the RAR was for an older version of VJoy and it failed to execute. By this time, I was like, no, this isn't the solution that I want to deal with. To play this game, I would always need to have all of these extra programs working in the background, and this is where my initial fears mentioned at the beginning came from. Smaller companies have the luxury of being able to publish a little bit immaturely, and the customer may not expect these little bumps in the road. Forza 5 must be some sort of software nightmare for it to not just work out of the box. I don't blame Cammus because it's evident that that is a problem and that they're working on it to find a better solution. I can just imagine someone who wants to play, who may not be as technical, messing through that process. I decided it was way too much BS to deal with, and if I really felt the need to play this specific game, I would just wait for them to find a solution or go play on another ecosystem. It's important to not take plug and play for granted because bigger and more established companies may go through a more significant quality control. They may liaise directly with the game companies to make the games that we play. You do get what you pay for, but that does not mean in any way that I'm done using Cammus. It's quite the opposite. Despite this isolated incident, I have loved using it, and anyone who's ever come over and used it has been impressed. It is operated flawlessly, plug and play in every other sim title that I use. The performance I was able to get was great, with good texture and accurate road feel. There was a noticeable difference in torque when riding over the rumble strips that I was only normally able to get from a much more expensive base. This extra torque also made the difference when I wanted to use my 350mm wheel for driving and drift. So I strongly recommend the Cammus 15Nm wheelbase with a simple set of caveats. It's inexpensive without feeling cheap. You have these great simple quality of life solutions such as the mobile app and the buttons mounted to the base. The ecosystem is somewhat basic, but this allows me to easily directly attach whatever wheel I want. It has the features that I need to get the most out of my time, and you cannot get this performance to dollar ratio anywhere else. You are not being future locked into an ecosystem where it costs $500 or more to add a new wheel, and because of this, you'd be more likely to expand your wheel collection. You are more likely then to get the right wheel to suit the driving that you're doing. Drift, driving, and GTS. All three of mine are on a quick disconnect. You don't even need to turn off or reset anything when making the switch. It just works, and that simplicity makes it easy to use. So we come to the end, and I hope that you've gotten something out of the video. If you plan to buy, I would suggest not bothering to buy from any local distributor. My order traveled halfway around the world and was at my door in 4 days. The company is currently listing a 40 to 50% off sale. Using my link and promo code will get you a further 5% when ordering directly from the manufacturer. This turns out to be cheaper than if you were to buy it from anywhere else. Thanks very much for spending your time with me. I might do a short video in the future of the individual wheels, and of course, as their ecosystem expands, I'm ready to test and review new gear to help you decide. Post your comments and questions in the section below. I love to read and answer. Drive safe.